The air in the village of Ezinochi on the morning of Chaik's wedding was thick enough to steeped in the fragrance of jollof rice, smoked fish, and the heady, sweet scent of ogbe being prepared in colossal pots. For Amara, it was the smell of an ending. From the small window of her mother's hut, she watched the compound across the dusty path transform into a carnival of color. Bright canopies bloomed like monstrous flowers. The relentless, joyful thump of the Igbo drum was a heartbeat that vibrated through the soles of her feet, a rhythm that mocked the silent, still place inside her chest where her own heart had gone to die. She loved him in secret. It was a fact as fundamental to her as the red earth of Enugu State. For 7 years, since they were 17 and he'd found her crying over a torn schoolbook, a book she couldn't afford to replace, her love had been the quiet engine of her life. Chaik, with his easy smile and eyes that saw the world as a puzzle to be solved, had not just bought her a new book. He had sat with her under the old Iroko tree and helped her mend the old one, his large, careful fingers surprisingly deft with needle and thread. "Nothing is truly broken if you care enough to fix it, Amora," he'd said. From that day, her world had orbited his. Her love lived in the extra piece of puff-puff she'd saved for him from her mother's store. It was in the silent encouragement she'd send him during secondary school debates, a mere meeting of their eyes across a crowded hall that would steady his nerves. It was in the way she learned the patterns of his favorite traditional songs, humming them as she worked at her mother's weaving loom, her own private soundtrack for a future she dared to imagine. When he left for the University of Lagos to study engineering, her love became letters she never sent, filled with news of home and whispered dreams. It became the meticulous, beautiful acquit cloth she wove, stitched by patient stitch, a masterpiece of indigo and crimson, its pattern an intricate code only she understood, interlocking circles for their shared history, a rising sun for his ambition, a winding river for the flow of her constant thoughts towards him. She was saving it for their day. She had believed, with the absolute faith of a shrine attendant, that he knew that their connection, though unspoken, was the strongest truth in both their lives. He would come home, successful, and look at her, really look, and the silent understanding would become a spoken promise. She had waited through his graduation, through his National Youth Service. She was waiting still, polishing her secret like a precious stone, when the gong was struck and the announcement echoed through Ezinochi. Chaik Obiajili, son of Chief Obi, was to marry Nneka Okoro, daughter of the wealthy contractor from Owerri. The news did not shatter her. It dissolved her. The Amara who had lived and breathed a hopeful secret simply ceased to exist, leaving behind a hollow, breathing shell. "Amara, must you dress like you are going to a burial?" Her Auntie Nkechi's voice was sharp with concern as she adjusted the bright yellow George wrapper and blouse they had insisted she wear. "You are a beautiful girl. Smile. Other fish are in the river." Amara forced her lips upwards. The gesture felt like a crack in dry clay. She was not looking for other fish. Her river had dried up at its source. The wedding ceremony was a magnificent display. Chaik looked like a Nollywood star, resplendent in a white Isaegu top over a rich red wrapper, a proud eagle embroidered over his heart. He was handsome, beaming, the perfect groom. But as he performed the ceremonial wine carrying, searching for his bride among the dancing women, his gaze swept over the crowd and snagged on Amara. For a fraction of a second, the perfect smile faltered. His eyes, those eyes that had once seen a torn book as something worth mending, held hers. In them, she didn't see joy. She saw a frantic, desperate apology, a silent scream trapped behind glass. Then Nneka was revealed, a vision in lace and imported silk, her smile brilliant and confident, and Chaik's expression smoothed over into bland adoration. The moment was gone, but it had been real. It was the crack in his facade, and it poured a dangerous, toxic fuel onto the dying embers in Amara's soul. The reception was under the largest canopy. Palm wine and laughter flowed. Amara sat with the other unmarried young women, a statue among butterflies. She watched Nneka, graceful and poised, the perfect modern Nigerian bride. She watched Chaik laugh a little too loudly, clap a little too vigorously. He was performing happiness. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of bruised orange and purple, Amara could bear it no longer. She slipped away, seeking the sanctuary of the old Iroko tree at the edge of the compound. She leaned her forehead against its gnarled back, the tears she had withheld all day finally coming in silent, wrenching waves. Amara. She froze. She knew that voice in her bones, in the marrow of her secret. She didn't turn. Chike's footsteps were soft on the dry grass. He stopped a few feet away. The sounds of the celebration were a distant, mocking hum. "You are crying," he said, his voice thick. "Why are you here, Chike?" she whispered, her back still to him. "Go back to your wife? I saw you leave." "I had to," he trailed off. The silence between them was alive, throbbing with 7 years of everything unsaid. She turned then. In the half-light, he looked stripped of his wedding finery, just a young man etched with misery. "You had to what?" "Explain." "There is nothing to explain. You made your choice." "It wasn't a choice," he burst out, the words torn from him. He took a step closer, the scent of his cologne mixing with the earthy smell of the tree. "It was a transaction. My father's lands, the contract with our father, it was the only way to save everything. To secure my family's future. My mother begged me, Amara." She got on her knees. Amara stared, her tears drying cold on her cheeks. "And what of my future? Did you ever think of that? Did you ever think to ask me what I wanted? To give me the dignity of a choice, or even a goodbye?" His face crumpled. "I thought you knew. I thought you understood me. I thought you would wait. That you were my constant. That after I had done my duty, fixed this mess, we could. I was building a life for us, a stable one." A bitter laugh escaped her. "You were building a life on a lie, Chike. You built it with our family's cement, on our father's land. You thought I would wait in the shadows until you decided to acknowledge me. My love was not a patient dog to be called when convenient." The raw truth of her words hung in the air. He flinched as if struck. "It was never like that," he pleaded, his eyes glistening. "What I feel for you, Amara, it is the truest part of me. This," he gestured violently back towards the wedding, "this is a costume. A performance. Then take it off," she hissed, anger finally igniting within the hollow. "Walk away right now. Prove it." He stared at her, a war raging in his eyes. She saw the longing, the desperation to be the man she believed him to be. She saw the fear, the weight of obligation, the chains of family expectation. His shoulders slumped, the fight draining out of him. The silence stretched, agonizing. In that silence, her last, fragile hope died. "I can't," he whispered, the words barely audible. "It is done. The agreements are signed. The money has changed hands." Of course. It was about money. It had always been about money. Her secret, priceless love had no currency in his world. She nodded, a final, devastating acceptance settling over her like ash. "Then go. Perform your happiness. But know this, Chike. You have not secured a future. You have buried your own soul. And you have broken the only thing in your life that was truly real." She saw the full impact of her words land. He looked utterly desolate, a king standing in the ruins of his own kingdom. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He reached into the inner pocket of his Isaego jacket. "I was going to give this to you yesterday," he said, his voice rough. He held out a small, folded square of paper, sealed with a cheap wax stamp. "I wrote it a week ago. I couldn't. I didn't have the courage." Amara looked at it as if it were a snake. Her name was scrawled on the front in his familiar handwriting. "Take it," he begged. "Please. So you know? So you know?" A part of her wanted to slap it out of his hand, to let it be carried away by the wind. But the larger part, the part that had loved him for 7 years, was weak. Her fingers trembled as she took it. The paper felt feverishly warm. From the wedding tent, a new, lively song erupted. Someone called his name, Obirunwoke. Groom. The spell was broken. The real world, with its contract and celebrations, reclaimed him. "I have to," he said, helplessly. "Go," Amora repeated, closing her fist around the letter. He looked at her one last time, his eyes conveying a lifetime of regret in a single glance. Then he turned and walked back towards the light and the noise, his shoulders bowed as if under a physical weight. Amora stood alone in the gathering dark. The sounds of joy from the wedding were now a sinister soundtrack. She looked down at the letter in her hand. This was it. The only spoken proof of her secret, arriving a day too late, a lifetime too late. Her heart hammered against her ribs. What could it possibly say that would change anything? An explanation. An apology. A declaration. With trembling fingers, she broke the wax seal. It was a single sheet, filled with his cramped, hurried writing. The first line made her breath catch. "My Amora, if you are reading this, then I have failed us both. I have done the cowardly thing. By the time you read these words, I will be bound to another, and the brightest part of my life will be extinguished." She read on, the words blurring. It was a confession, pouring out everything she had longed to hear for 7 years. It spoke of his love, his fear, the unbearable pressure. It was beautiful and tragic and utterly, utterly useless. Then, at the bottom, the final paragraph made the blood drain from her face. Her knees buckled, and she caught herself against the Iroko tree, the rough bark scraping her palm. "There is one more thing, the true reason for my cowardice, worse than the death or the land. Nneka is pregnant. It happened once, 3 months ago, a terrible mistake after too much drink at a contract signing celebration in Owerri. She told me last week. Her father knows. If I do not marry her, he will ruin mine. But more than that, he will take the child, my child, and I will never see it. I am trapped, Amora, in a cage of my own making. Forgive me, if you can. Forget me, if you are able. Chike." The letter fluttered from her numb fingers to the ground. The world tilted. The laughter from the wedding tent now sounded grotesque, a celebration built on a foundation of hidden shame and coerced vows. Nneka's radiant smile, her confident grace, it was all a performance. And Chike was not just a reluctant groom, he was a blackmailed one, bound not just by contract, but by the impending life of a child. A child. The finality of it was absolute. More final than any signed agreement. This was a bond that would last forever. Amora felt a strange detachment, as if she were floating above the scene, watching a poor, heartbroken girl under a tree. What now? Did this secret change her grief? Did it make him more of a victim, or more of a fool? A new, more terrifying thought slithered into her mind. This secret was dynamic. It was a live wire. Nneka held the ultimate card, the child. But Chike held this truth, and now, so did she. What would Nneka do to protect her leverage, her perfect wedding story? What would a powerful, proud man like her father do if this secret threatened his daughter's shiny new union? As Amora stood there in the dark, the cold realization seeped into her. The end of her secret love was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a dangerous new one. She had just become the keeper of a truth that could shatter 2 families. She looked from the damning letter on the ground to the glowing, joyful canopy in the distance, where the man she loved was dancing with his new, pregnant wife. A figure emerged from the shadows at the edge of the compound, silhouetted against the distant lights. It was too tall to be Chike. It stood perfectly still, watching her. Watching the white square of paper on the dark earth. Amora's breath froze in her lungs. Who was it? A friend of the bride's. One of her father's men. The figure took one slow, deliberate step forward.